Andersen officially became president and CEO of AIG on June 1st. Andersen came to AIG from Aon, where he spent nearly 3 decades in senior leadership roles. He inherits a company that his now predecessor, Peter Zaffino, genuinely transformed from the ashes of the 2008 financial crisis into a focused global property and casualty powerhouse. But the insurance industry is still facing a perfect storm of catastrophic climate losses, AI disruption, and a pricing environment that is testing every major underwriter on the planet. In his first interview since taking over, AIG CEO Eric Andersen is here with me at Yahoo Finance HQ. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Look, insurance is a tough business. Take us through some of these early days, how you get acclimated to a role like this.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me. And it's such an iconic company, right? So having been in the industry for 3 decades, I've always been around AIG, right, as a major trading partner. But whenever you go inside of an organization, you have things to learn, right? Each company kind of has its own routine. But having a couple of months to dig deep on the balance sheet, on the investments, on the underwriting, on the positioning, has really given me an opportunity to really spend time with our colleagues and our clients to see what they think and what they want the company to be going forward. So it was really fortunate to have those few months to really ramp up.
What's coming out of the block here? What's your biggest priority?
You know, we want to get the company back to growth. We've had 5 successful years of profitable underwriting, but we've largely been about the same size as we were repositioning the firm, as you mentioned in the open.
Yeah, the numbers look good.
Numbers look good. But now the question is, how do you actually take all of this capability that we have, whether it's around cyber or AI or data centers or all the different capabilities, the global network, and really become more relevant to the clients and be able to do a host of products and services for them versus any one individual product.
What does the AIG product of the future look like as you think about growth?
You know, if you tie it down to a topic, let's call data centers, right? If you think about the beginning of a data center from the permitting and the financing all the way through to the construction, there are probably 30 different insurance products that that organization would need, whether it's construction, whether it's marine, whether it's liability, cyber, business interruption, you go all the way through it. And so what we're trying to do is get to the hyperscalers to talk about the suite of capabilities that we can bring and make sure that as we deploy capital for them, we're deploying it across a spread of risk so that we can actually help them. Also, by the way, and you know this, the data centers that are being built in the US get a lot of attention, but you saw SoftBank is investing 75 billion euros in France, obviously in China. And so that's where our global network can be useful because we have on the ground information, because we have operations there. And our challenge is how do you actually take that insight and get it to a client when they're making those kind of decisions? So there's a lot of opportunity for us to pull the suite of capabilities together and deliver it to a client in a more holistic way versus maybe just product by product.
These data centers, they're in high wind zones. They are in some cases, remote areas. Everybody thinks they're coming to our backyards. Well, not yet. But how are these data centers presenting? What type of new risks do they present to an AIG when you're writing these policies?
Sure. I mean, there's an aggregation issue that everybody keeps talking about, which is the sheer size of the footprint creates capital constraints for us. And so drawing in new capital from outside the traditional insurance balance sheets is something we've all been spending a lot of time on so that we can offer the scale of the coverage that these hyperscalers are looking for. But there's also an interconnectedness to it. You mentioned the cat zones that they're in. There's massive business interruption issues. They're building and operating while they're starting the next phase of the project. And so you've got, full-time working data centers right next to a construction zone. And so when you look across it, it really is unparalleled in terms of the scale and the size. But honestly, with the right expertise and the right technical engineering and the like, we can manage it.
You're in the business of understanding risk. What is the risk to the insurance industry as we get more of these data centers? Do we have to see a lot of insurance needs combine forces to provide the capital these companies need or write the policies they need to have?
So I think when you look at, it's a broad industry, right? So there's a lot of players. I think one of the things that we try and bring to the table is our breadth of knowledge of expertise. There are some that are monoline, they do property, or they do cyber, or they might do marine. For us, we can do all of it. And so the question becomes, I think for the industry, is how do you create a knowledge base across the risks and the interconnectedness and how they apply to each other and be able to then draw capital to that. We think of ourselves as a leader in that because we have that full suite of capabilities. But others will try and do it on a monoline basis and will innovate and compete.
Not to go back into the boring business of weather, but we are now getting, we just got termed with El Nino. How are you preparing the business for this?
Listen, I think you prepare for it all the time, right? You're never not preparing for it. And so how you actually manage the aggregation, how you use reinsurance and sell off some of the risks that you find you're over concentrated in continues to happen. And by the way, it's not just hurricanes, right? It's the convective storms, there's the tornadoes, it's earthquake risks. There's a variety of natural catastrophe risks that we're always managing. And I actually think it's one of the things the industry does really well is that we are able to handle the risk for the individual client and then diversify it and spread it into the capital markets or the reinsurance markets as a way to spread it.
Does the insurance industry need to evolve how they write policies for wildfires? I mean, you've seen everything that has happened in California. A lot of folks think that could be a series of events that continue to unfold the next decade. Like, how do you think about it, AIG?
Yeah, it's a complicated question because it has a few different aspects to it. It has certainly the risk of where now people live is more prone to wildfire.
Next to a data center.
So next to a data center. So there are regulatory framework issues and zoning of where people live. So you've got that issue. You've also got, there's policy questions because in the end, what the insurance industry tries to do is look at the risk and they put a probability on it and they charge a price for it. The challenge is you're also doing that in an environment where you've got, regulatory frameworks, politics. And so we try and separate, there is a risk to this exposure, and this is what it would cost if you want to share it among a population. That may run into policy questions, which we try and stay out of and say, listen, you can decide to subsidize, you can take it as a state or a country, but ultimately this is what it costs. And if you want private capital to be a part of it, this is what the private capital will need to charge to make that happen.
Lastly, before I let you go, I always love to ask new CEOs this. What should the average investor know about you? What do you do when you're not AIG CEO?
Personally?
Yeah.
Well, married a long time, have 5 kids, so I spend most of my time chasing them around, but feel really fortunate to have a great family and have a great career.
All right, well, good luck on your AIG CEO journey. Look forward to staying in touch.
Great,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.